Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining in the busy middle of the day today. And thank you for tuning in for Sheer Qorma. We are in the middle of our festival called the Tasveer Festival Watch, Read, Talk, which is taking place, started on October 1st and will end on October 24th, 2021. Tasveer was founded in the aftermath of 9/11, right after 9/11 in March. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining in the busy middle of the day today. And thank you for tuning in for Sheer Qorma. We are in the middle of our festival called Tasveer. Okay, that was one technical glitch that happens often. So what I was saying was Tasveer was founded in March 2002, right after 9/11, as our chance to create a platform for South Asian artists to elevate their voices. It's based out of Seattle, Washington, and it's an arts organization whose social justice-driven mission is to amplify underrepresented South Asian voices in film, literature, and storytelling. The Tasveer Festival is a hybrid festival showcasing the best in South Asian film, which is our 16th year for Tasveer South Asian Film Festival. It's also showcasing the third South Asian Literature Festival called TSAL. And also adding new this year is Talk, where we will be hosting some comedy shows and industry panels and much more. So tune in on watch.tasveer.tv. And the exciting thing today, during our lunchtime, as we are doing this, is that with me, I have is our co-founder, Farah Nosheen. And let me welcome her to the virtual platform. Hi, Farah. Farah is our co-founder, joining in from Albuquerque, Washington.
Yeah, hi. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm just really happy to share this virtual space with my with the co-founder Rita, that we are always find ourselves together over the years in interesting spaces. So this is so fun.
Yeah, 20 years in making. Mm-hmm. And last not but the least, our guest of honor, drum roll please, let's welcome Faraz Ansari.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you so much. Thank you, Farah, for having me. Such an honor.
If I start reading his bio, it will take me a long time, but because he has done such amazing work over the years. I don't know when he started, right after he was born, perhaps, but he started his film career as a co-writer with Mr. Amol Gupte, writer and creative director of Tare Zameen Par. And he was the associate director and executive producer on Fox Star's Stanley Ka Dabba. I remember it was so popular in the US. That was released in May 2011. And there's a long list of film, and you can go to his IMDb profile and check out all his production, post-production, and film lists. But I really wanted to highlight this extra note here that when he's not working behind the camera, Faraz conducts cinema and theater sessions for the underprivileged children across the slums of Mumbai and trains them to write screenplays and direct their own short films along with film appreciation sessions. Wow. And Faraz has also been conducting free acting workshops for the Indian transgender and queer communities across Mumbai and Delhi. Faraz runs a charitable initiative called Gift a Meal, which works at the grassroots level and provides meals to the street children across Mumbai and Delhi. Well, welcome. It's such an honor to have you both on our virtual platform. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Would you like to start off with, you were also saying how you just arrived in US. Let's kick off with that and your director's statement, and then we'll take it away.
Awesome. So yeah, I actually just got off a 25-hour long flight from India. Just got to Dallas, and a little all over the place. So I'm going to try and keep my focus here on the festival. And I'm so glad that Sheer Qorma is playing at the Sphere this year. It's really an honor for me and and for my film. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity. And I hope all of you have watched the film and enjoyed the film. It's a film that required tremendous courage as a filmmaker, and not just as a filmmaker, but also as a human being. But because when you talk about sexuality and faith in the same sentence, and you try to keep it as universal as Sheer Qorma really is, with actors as powerful as Shabana Azmi, Jeet Devdatta, and Swara Bhaskar, it's really, it's really set to do many great things. But the most important thing that I want this film to do, and I'm so grateful that the film is doing, is to remind all of us that eventually, in the end, it is love that truly wins. And it is love that will really save us all in that sense. It's not hate, it's love. Love trumps over everything. And I think that's really important as a message for me, being a queer Muslim, non-binary, brown filmmaker, to really put forward into the world. So I'm just very grateful for this opportunity to have been had to make this film really.
Yep, and we're so appreciative for you to make this film as a also a queer Muslim. The more of this that's out there, the easier it makes us to be who we are. So thank you so much. I appreciate that personally, as well as a co-founder of the Sphere. So the most important thing that was to us when we founded the Sphere was Muslim representation, because it was right after September 11th, and we really wanted people to know who are Muslims. And at the same time, another thing that was important to us is that we wanted it to be clear where we stand on LGBTQ representation. And we founded the Sphere on our first screening was on Pride. So our first public screening was a Pride one. And so I think that just as Rita and I being here right now with you, it's definitely also like who we are as the Sphere. So we really are grateful for you being here, just as, this is who the Sphere is for. Like, it's for you, it's for us.
Thank you. I mean, I think it takes so much of a courage to be ourselves, given the world that we live in. And I often keep saying this to people, that my identity as a Muslim is as important as my identity as being a queer person of the color. And if you ask me to take either or away from me, I'm not going to let anything go, because both are as dear to me as I am. And this is really something that defines me. It gives me my identity. So don't take that away from me. Let me be myself. And I think it's so important to be able to say that out loud, and what better way than make a film about it.
Yeah. So one thing I thought of is, like, it is written by you. So how did the story come? And earlier I said we can't really make this stuff up. Sometimes it's part of our truth. So I wanted to know, how did the story come about? Is it a personal story, or yeah?
To be very honest with you, Farah, I think most of a storytelling that we do is always born through real life, through experiences that we have as individuals, through experiences that we have as a storytellers, not just on a conscious level, but also on a subconscious level, things that we experience in our day-to-day lives. And I feel that as a storyteller, to be able to take these experiences, lived and unlived, and sort of combine them into a story that is not just going to put forward your truth, but is also going to resonate with millions of people across the globe. And it's going to make them see a part of your soul that I find is so magical. I mean, you and I have never met, but you've seen a part of my soul now. You've seen a part of my soul through Sheer Qorma. Everyone who's seen Sheer Qorma has seen who I am as an individual. And I feel that magic to be able to create that space, to be able to take people within you, give them a glimpse of your soul. I think that is such a beautiful journey to have. And I think that is something which will probably make us more accepting of one another when we realize that the way I love, the way I live, the way I embrace, the way I want to be accepted, the way I want to be loved is no different than you. It's the same. And it's really what truly binds us together. It's not our differences, but our similarities. And we're all the same at the end of it all. If you really look at on a larger scale, it's not the differences, but the similarities.
Um, but there's many ways that we could represent ourselves, and these characters, how did they come about, and how did you choose these particular characters to tell the story? There's so many. Actually, it's like, and another interesting aspect to this is that the queer Muslim community is very diverse. You have practicing Muslims, um, you have trans people, trans Muslims, we have drag queens and kings. So we have all these different, so much diversity. How did you come up with this particular story to tell, and why was this story
I
important
remember
for you?
actually, I remember the decision happened at a question and answer session happening at Harvard University in 2018, where I was there with my earlier film, Sisak, which happens to be India's first silent gay love story. And someone in the audience asked me this question. They said, why don't we see a queer women in cinema? Where are the queer women? Where are the queer women of color? Why don't we see them often? And that really got me thinking. I said, that's true though. I mean, where are the queer women? Why is nobody making films about lived experiences of queer women of a color? So when I got an opportunity to make my next film after Sisak, I was very determined that it has to celebrate queer women of the color. At that point of time, I didn't really want, I didn't really have in mind whether I wanted to be a Muslim family or something else, but I was definitely certain that it has to be about a queer Muslim woman. Taking that idea forward, I said, why not add to that and also add more representation in terms of a non-binary individual? Again, a part of the LGBTQI spectrum, which is often a miss. We often skip that. It's always about the cis gay men. It's
Mhm.
always about them. What about the rest of us? Don't we contribute to this beautiful spectrum that we celebrate, with great gutso and great gung ho throughout the year? What happens to the rest of us? Where are the rest of us? And I think due to misrepresentation and underrepresentation, the journey of Sheer Qorma really started. And of course, while I was writing that film, I feel so passionately being a Muslim person living back in India, given the state that India really is in, with rights of minorities in the times that we live in. It's a very sad state of being. And I feel that the journey of a Muslim in Indian cinema really started off being, initially we were the courtesans, then we became the supportive best friends, then we were the terrorists, and then now we have become the barbaric invaders. That's really been the journey of an Indian Muslim. What about the rest of us? Why are we never seen in cinema? What happens to the families that we come from, where we are really uh, taught about love, about acceptance, about national integrity, about humanity, about love, And I remember this very, very clearly as a memory that I have as a child. I remember asking my mom at one point in time, I said, who is Allah, Mama? Who is Allah? We keep saying Allah, Allah all the time. Who is Allah? And my mother turned to me and she looked at me and she said, Allah is a Noor, Allah is light. And I will always remember that definition so beautifully when my mama said that Allah is a Noor. And it's interesting though, because then when I think of it that Allah created me as a part of the universe, as a part of God, I am a representation of that universe. I'm a representation of that Noor. I'm a part of that Noor. So when I wanted to make Sheer Qorma, I wanted to really layer it in that sense. I think intersectionalities are so important in cinema, because we don't really get these opportunities very often and very easily. So when you do get an opportunity, how do you really take it to the next level without making it, just one tick off the box sort of thing? I didn't want to be that. I wanted it to be personal. I wanted to be felt. And at no point of time did I want it to be representative in that sense. I wanted to be felt. I wanted it to have a deeper connect with everyone watching that film. And the best way to do that is to look inwards, to turn that sight internal, like the way Frida Kahlo, when she talks about how she created her greatest artwork, she said, I just do what I know the best, and that's me, right? So Sheer Qorma is really who I am, as a human being, as a human being, most importantly, as a, a queer, non-binary Muslim person of the color. This is my film, this is my story, and this is about my representation. And when you do representations about yourself, you realize that you are actually representing so many people across the globe who've never had representation before this, never ever. And that is, I feel, where Sheer Korma really triumphs in that sense, in terms of representation. We've never seen that before.
Mhm. And one of the things too is that when we do see Muslims representing Islam, there's oftentimes queer folks are left out. There can be, amazing panels and discussion. This is Islam. Islam is a religion of peace, and
Yeah.
just all of that. But then there would be queer, trans, non-binary folks that are left out. So I think one of the things that I found strength in your film and any queer Muslim filmmakers is that queer Muslims are representing Islam.
Yeah.
So it becomes like, yeah. so we're like queering Islam too. The
About
way that
time, I say, about time, I mean, if Allah is a Noor, Allah cannot be a he, and Allah cannot be a she, right? Allah is genderless. And I think that's the beauty, and that's how I see myself. I see myself as without having any gender. I consider myself to be non-binary. I consider myself to be gender fluid. And I feel that if I'm a representation of the one who's created this universe, then I'm the closest to God.
Yep. And how are like the normative, heteronormative Muslim communities, have we shown this
Oh,
film in that in
oh
those
my God.
spaces?
I remember the day the day the poster of Sheer Korma released. There was a hashtag trending on a Twitter called boycott Sheer Korma.
Oh,
And and you need to understand, this hate does not really come from the Islamists, as they're known as. It does not just come from the fundamental people, or who practice Islam and who think that being a queer is being non-Islamic. It's not just them. It's also from the homophobes, and it's also from the right-wing majoritarian people in India who don't want to see Muslims, who don't want to see Muslim representation on screen. So we were getting hate badgered from every side and angle that you can really imagine. Everyone was really out there to just get us. They were like, just ban this film, just ban this film. And then the trailer dropped next year in February, and oh my God, the minute they saw the trailer and the minute they saw that it's about women, it's about queer women, it's about queer Muslim women, it's about a non-binary individual, they were like, oh my God, just burn it down, just break it down. How dare this person make this film? How could this person make this film? So I mean, it's interesting, because when you make a film about love, when you make a film about acceptance, it only ends up getting hate. And the amount of hate that I keep getting for this film is phenomenal. Like on a daily basis, and I'm not trying to romanticize this, but on a daily basis, I get a minimum of 25 death threats across social media on a daily basis. This is like a regular day in my life. And it really fascinates me to think of it as a third person, that how can a film that really uh, tells you to love more, that tells you to accept one another more, can get so much hate. it just baffles me so deeply that how can love get you so much hate? We make films about wars, and we make films about hate crimes, and we make films about murders, and these films win the biggest awards and are applauded across the globe, across the spectrum. But when it comes to films about love and acceptance, it brings out the demons in all of us. Why are we so afraid of love? I think it's a question we all need to ask ourselves, that what about love that really makes us knock our socks off? What about it? Or what makes us so uncomfortable about loving and embracing one another?
Yeah, it's breaking the love rules, of who can be loved and how much. That's a quote from Arundhati Roy's book, God of Small Things. Yeah, because you're saying that you're breaking the heteronormative rule of like only this type of person can be loved. And I would think that in India, in the Indian culture, it should be like there's so many Bollywood movies about how the rich is in love with the poor, or like two families who hate each other, a family se family type thing, where so much is there in forbidden love. So you would think that they would be able to catch this on, that it's a love that breaks like societal rules, and they should be celebrated. So many, you know um there's just every Bollywood movie has that theme already. So we would think, and actually I had that feeling in it. There is that melodrama, there's the music of her and the crying and stuff. There is like very emotionally melodramatic cultural expressions that I would think that Indians would be able to connect with if they could like break out of that. So it's a really sad thing. And another thing I thought of while you were speaking was that you were actually an accomplice and an ally, because if you were the Muslim filmmaker and a queer Muslim woman filmmaker, that and to bring that story out, I mean, that threat of life is like on another level, on a queer Muslim woman's body. Like if that was happening to me, if I was to make the film and that happened, I mean, that would be so terrifying, and I mean, it definitely is for you too. But I think that you also, by centering on two queer women, or even and one woman and non-binary, that um you did a role of as an ally. Do you have any thoughts on that from that perspective? It's just something that clicked to me while you were speaking.
Yeah, no, it's right. I mean, when you say it, I think we all need to be allies of each other. I think because this journey of being yourself can get so lonesome at times, and more often than not, one is really fighting the battle all alone. And I think being a queer person, being a queer Muslim person, growing up in India, uh, it does get very lonesome. So I think when you actually see that there are folks out there who need representation, there are folks out there who've never been seen in the mainstream, never been celebrated in the mainstream, they've never had their voices heard in the mainstream. You just want to find a way to make it happen. You know,
Mhm.
you just want to find a way to take their voices out there to the world. And believe you me, Farah, the amount of messages that I have got from people across the globe after they've seen Sheer Qorma. In fact, this one particular message, I'm getting goosebumps as I'm saying this. There was a woman in San Francisco who identifies as bisexual, and she saw the film at a festival, and then she wrote this long message to me that after she saw the film, she called up her mother. She's in her early 40s now, this woman. She called up her mother who lives in Pakistan, and she came out to her mother after all these years, after she saw Sheer Korma. And she said, I don't know what's going to happen next. But after watching the film, there was this one line that really hit me about your film where Divya Datta's character says, Ab aur waqt kahan se laun?
Mhm.
Where do I go to find more time from? And I feel that She said, that broke me, that line. She said, because life's passing by, and someday it's not going to be the way it is. How do I mend this? And she said, your film propelled me to come out to my mother. And she said, I never imagined that a film would do that to me. So, I mean, that's the power that cinema has. That's the power that storytelling really has. And if this film could change even a single life, I'm I'm just grateful. I mean, what else can I say?
Well, I'm definitely going to watch this with my mom too, who will randomly send me a text saying, "This is a sin what you're doing." Like it'll be random. It'll be like, I thought we went through this, and then she would just think that. Not if anyone knows my mom, everyone knows I love her. I'm not like saying anything, but
I have
it's
a
like, yeah, go ahead.
I have a question, like talking about the allyship, you just said that uh, talking about mom, Farah, you
Yeah.
know, how was it like having people like Shabana Azmi becoming your ally, and she's been so consistently acting as a mom of a lesbian character in several films, I think, from Signature Move to this one.
Mhm.
What has been the experience like, and how has it supported the film uh, in a good way, or has she gotten any flack for acting in these films? And would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Me?
No,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
the
me?
director,
Okay.
Sahab.
Yeah. Okay. Farasha. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think what Shabana ji plays in Sheer Qorma is not a quintessential mother. She's layered in that sense, and I have seen Signature Move. She plays a very, very caricaturish mother, who sits by the window watching, what the daughter's doing. Very typical understanding of a brown desi auntie. I hate stereotypes. I just feel they're very regressive. The minute someone says there's a stereotype, I'm like, oh God, please stop it. So I'm against stereotypes as a storyteller, and that is something I wanted to very prudently stay away from when I wrote Shabana Ji's character in my film. She accepts her daughter. If you see the fact that she's called her daughter, the fact that she's called her child for Eid lunch along with the partner, there is a level of acceptance. There is a level of wanting to accept. We never talk about these in betweens, in cinema. It's always black or white. But I think life is so much more than that. Life is all about those in betweens, that I feel personally acceptance is a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey that goes on until the last day of our lives. And I feel that Shabana Ji's character brings that out in this film. That she is, in a way, okay with her child. But I think when she sees her child with their partner, it really shakes her. She doesn't know how to process it. She doesn't know how to handle it, because she wants to. You see, she's aching to do it, but something in her is just holding her back. And that war, that jihad that she fights with herself, sorry to bring out the J word, but I think that jihad that Shabana Ji's, because a jihad is all about the internal power struggles that you have with yourself, and not the other way around, the way it is perceived in the West. So I feel that jihad that Shabana Ji's character has with herself is so explanatory about so many brown, and not just brown, I think women, and especially mothers across the spectrum who have queer children. They accept them, they love them, but there is that thing that always remains. There is that thing, that lump in the throat that always remains. It's just like the way it is with my mom. Every time my mother embraces me, she leaves behind certain parts of myself that don't align with her, and I feel it. And I keep telling her all the time, Mama, theek se gale lagao. Mama, hold me properly. You're not hugging me entirely. And many times he says, but I'm trying to. And there are these times, like I was just on my way to the airport. She came to drop me at the airport, and she was hugging me and said, Mom, you're not hugging me properly. And she started weeping because she says, you don't know how hard it is for me, but I'm trying. Give me time. And I feel that is a journey, because the way we are, as queer people of the color, the way we are on our journeys is exactly the way our parents are also on their journeys. And I feel to be able to see that, to be able to bring that forward, you know. And I think you see that in Sheer Qorma, I think it starts off with the mother, it ends with the mother, but in between, you see the journey of the child and the child's partner, who never got to make that peace with her her mother while her mother was alive. She brings that up in the conversation, and she tells Divya's character in the film that while you have the time, make peace with your mother if you can, because life does not happen twice. And I feel all of us are onto those journeys, right? Trying to hold on to things that are just passing us by, just fleeting us by, and that turmoil that one goes through is very hard to put into words, really. So when I had to design that scene where Divya is sitting in the washroom and crying, right? There are no dialogues in that at all. And initially, I didn't even want any music in that, but I know this thing that South Asians love music. We love background scores. So I said, to make it more universal, to make it more accepting for my mother to be able to watch this scene, I will have to add music to it. So it was a last minute decision. I was like, should I do music? Should I not do music? Should I do music? Should I not do music? I said, no, you know what? Let's just do music. Everyone will love it. And, I'm glad I did music, because it does add a certain sense of uh, that a typical Bollywood, sensibility that you really long for, but you've never really seen that sensibility with queer characters being represented with honesty and love. We've never seen that before. So I think that is a fresh perspective that Sheer Qorma offers. It's a mainstream film, but it's about queer Muslim women and non-binary Muslim individuals. You're like, what? How is that possible? How can that be a mainstream film? How dare you? I mean, I think our perceptions, our definitions of mainstream are really warped. And I keep asking this to people: why can't mainstream be more feminine? Why can't mainstream be more subtle? Why can't mainstream be more sensitive? Why can't it be more honest? That's the future. The future is femme, the future is sensitive, the future is sublime, the future is non-binary, the future is gender fluid. That's the future. you know we have to embrace it at some point or the other. If we don't, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, very well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, and one of the things I see about South Asian queer films is that we always have our parents in the film. So I sometimes wonder, and I had talked to Rita about this, like, could we have a queer film without the parents that doesn't center the parents? I was just thinking about that too,
I
and
actually
that's
have one. My next one has no parents in it. It's just individuals. Yeah, and it's a pretty complex film, because there is the mother really in the film, and other things, without giving any spoilers, but not central to the film, or in that sense. It's they're just there, and I think it's more about these two individuals. I think that, but to be able to make that film, I had to make this film
this.
first.
Yes,
Like
yes,
we're all on journeys. We're all on journeys.
mm-hmm. Yep, I know. And that started with Summer in My Veins. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've seen that. Then that's where it's always like the mother is just so central in our journeys as queer people. It's like the mom is just very present, and our decisions that we make and how we live is so dictated by our relationships with our mothers. So, and I think that was beautiful what you said about the person who called Pakistan. And what that happens is when someone does that, they create another story,
Uh-huh.
because then we wonder, okay, what did she say? How was her response? And how is that relationship now? Or so it's that once we put and what you just said actually as well, that once you tell that story, you can move on to the next.
Also, Farah, what you brought up is very interesting, because I feel this idea of the mother, is really honoring the divine feminine, to be honest. It's honoring that part of ourselves within ourselves as well. Because I think most of the time, the metaphor that a mother is about the femininity that all of us have within ourselves, you know, and to be able to honor that and to be able to personify that and then try to find, because I think even even within ourselves, to be able to accept ourselves entirely is a journey, right? That we're all on. To I mean, for I know so many queer men who identify as men. It's very difficult for them to accept their feminine side, you know. And I feel that to be able to honor that is so important in all our journeys. To be able to, or vice versa, to honor the divine masculine for that matter. It has to be a balance. It has to be the yin and the yang that comes together, and only then the semblance happens. And that is within us, it's not outside of us. You know, that balance has to be restored within you. And I feel only then can you see it reflecting outside of you. It's interesting because in Sheer Qorma, I really break many stereotypes. So I don't know if you noticed, but the first person to cry in the film happens to be the brother. It's the brother who sheds tears. The only person who cries at the beginning before all these women and this non-binary person, it's the brother. We never see men cry in Indian cinema, and especially crying for their sibling. We've never seen that. We've never seen them stand up saying, "How dare you do that to my non-binary queer sibling? How dare you?" Right? Never seen that. It's always about the patriarchal mindset, the this that. So you have so in Jigama, it's all sort of around. We've all turned it around. It's a matriarchal setup, you know, and it's not really matriarchal in that sense because the mother is trying. She's really trying her best. It really breaks my heart because while I was filming this, I was trying to explain this to Shabana ji, of how she's trying her best to accept her child. And I used to break down. I used to cry every time I used to explain it to her. And she really picked on those emotions, and she took it forward. She said, every time you talk to me about your mother, she said, I start tearing up. And she said, it's very hard to play this character because I would never do that to my child. I would never do that to my child. She kept on saying that to me, and then to be able to do it, and I think she's done such a brilliant job in the film. She's so beautifully layered her performance. It's just phenomenal, I think.
Yeah,
Even if I say
definitely. Definitely.
We have we can talk here all day. It's so wonderful to continue this, but we have one comment from one viewer saying, love this conversation. I wanted to ask Faraz what it feels like to be a Muslim filmmaker in India too. And should we add gay filmmaker to that on top of that? Queer
Yeah, there are days I really want to pack my bags and run away. And then there are those other days which remind me that why I should not run away, but I should stay back in the country and continue telling these stories that need to be told because nobody else is doing it. And what better way to tell our stories than ourselves telling our stories? Not giving those opportunities away to other people to tell our stories the way it's been for so long. We've always had other people, non-queer people, tell stories of queer people. And therefore, you see all the misrepresentation happening. But when you see a queer person telling a queer story, the narrative changes. It becomes honest, it becomes real, it becomes alive, it breathes. And to be able to, it's always about, I think life's very simple, I think. And you can disagree with me, but I think life is uh, between lived experiences versus research. It'll always be lived experiences that will trump the day, not research. So don't research on my life. Allow me to tell my story the way I want to, and let me do justice to myself by telling my story. So I think coming back to the question, sorry to have digressed a little, but I think it's not easy being a minority in India. We there are many battles to fight, and there are days when you feel your tongue has been snatched out of your mouth because you cannot really stand up for anything without probably facing some repercussion or the other in some way or the other. So it's we're living through trying times and testing times, but I think what better time than this to create art and to create a film like Sheer Qorma? Sheer Qorma is a very rebellious film in that way. It was born right in the middle of all these things, and it continues to travel the world, except in India. We've had one screening in India, and we got a lot of flack for it. But interestingly, the film has won 25 international awards, not a single award back home. And
Mhm.
really, it makes me see so many things. In fact, we won 3 awards in Pakistan. Can you imagine? We just won 3 awards in Pakistan. Just on my way to America, I opened my email and I just got to know we won Best Film, Best Director, and Best Actor. Shabana Azmi got the award for. So I was
Yeah.
like, wow, we won in Pakistan, but we haven't won in India? What? But, you know, glad that the film is working and people in Pakistan, especially the queer community in Pakistan, is getting to watch the film. I'm deeply honored about that.
uh, I know we want to end, but just one more question. Um, would you, what would you say to this, that um, I I personally don't find any diversity in the way the characters look in Indian films coming out of. They all look very clean, beautiful, perfect, and if they are not so good looking, or they're like really villainish. How have you ever thought of, like, even in the main roles, having more diversity in the looks wise, color wise, and have any comment on that?
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
think,
mean?
I think when you try to exoticize Indian people, you end up making a slumdog millionaire where people sit on rooftops. That's not how India is. There is another side to India as well. And India is as multicultural and as multi-layered as it can get. So while a film cannot really represent all aspects and all spectrums of India, while it represents a particular spectrum of India, if it can do justice to that, a battle has been won. And especially a spectrum that has never been seen in the mainstream. I mean, this is a question I ask everyone. When was the last time we saw a normal Muslim Indian family, where nobody is a terrorist, where nobody is an invader, where nobody is a courtesan, where nobody is saying that my name is XYZ and I'm not a terrorist, I mean, where have we ever seen a normal Muslim Indian family in Indian cinema for the longest time? I don't think we have. I don't think we have. And therefore, Sheer Korma brings that, perspective forward. In fact, one of the comments that I got were very interesting. They said, how come Shabana Azmi is wearing a sari in the film? Isn't she Muslim? And I said, what? And they were like, yeah, if she's a Muslim, how can she wear a sari? And
My
that baffled me. That really baffled me. The other thing that I was told, they said, so cool. So they're speaking Urdu in the film because they're Muslims, right? And I said, first of all, they're not speaking Urdu in the film. They're speaking Hindustani. There's a difference. The Hindustani is a mix of Urdu and Hindi, what we usually speak. We don't speak Hindi, back in India. We speak Hindustani. But people don't even know the difference between Hindi and Hindustani and Urdu. So I think when you're trying to bring forward, in an honest way, just a part of a spectrum and to do justice to that, the detail, I think that's also very important. So I think we often, what happens when you're trying to westernize it, when you're trying to exoticize it, then it becomes a slumdog millionaire. If the story demands people of certain skin tones to be cast for it, then you have to do it, right? It's just that it just so happens that Sheer Korma is not trying to exoticize anything. It's just trying to bring forward a lived experience as is, Uh, I have many times heard that, especially in the West, I went to a grocery store which was apparently run by a South Asian person. And because I'm on the darker side of the brown spectrum, this woman behind the counter was trying to tell her white friend that, I am a I'm a light brown, but most Indians are not light brown. They're on the darker side of brown. And I was overhearing this conversation that really shook me so much. So in fact, when I casted Divya and Swara, Divya is of course on the fairer side, but Swara is on the darker side, you know, and she's actually playing a Canadian Pakistani. There's a whole concept that all of Pakistan is fair skinned. That's not true, you know. He's actually so Sheer Qorma is very layered in that way, and you also actually see that perspective because when they have a Firang daughter-in-law, you know, Susan, who's sitting there and eating vegan kebabs, she's getting all the love and she's getting all the attention, because she's she epitomizes, she represents the West of how we are very easily given, we're so easily colonized in that sense. The after effects of being, a colony, we're so easily given to that white skin understanding. So I feel the more you look at it, I think the more it really brings forward many aspects of representation. But 100%, I agree to you. I feel that uh, our stories need to be more diverse, and our casting needs to be as diverse as our films need to be as well.
Well, thank you so much, Faraz, for joining us today, especially after all your travels. And and you're definitely correct. And I 100% agree with you about the number of layers and all the layers of intersectionality and all the subtle ways that gender roles are not normative. So I really appreciate every screen, every scene of Sheer Qorma. I also, just to end this, my mouth was watering the whole time since you mentioned the kebabs. I was like, oh my gosh. I really enjoyed that too. And that is part of being Muslim. So I really appreciate you making a film that celebrates Islam, spirituality, as well as cultural through food and language, and as well as queer culture. I think was amazing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more from you. And I'm sure everybody is.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pooja. Thank you, Namrata. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Faraz. Come back again.
Definitely, I'd love to. Next time,
Inshallah.
yes, in person, inshallah.